Webinar. Hello, everyone. A very warm welcome to the Global School Alliance February webinar, our monthly series of webinars that bring together amazing educators from our inspirational community of global educators. Today, we'll be looking at the importance of promoting online safety. We're all aware of the key responsibilities on us all in education around safeguarding. So we hope this provides a very useful entree into hints, tips, best practice around these important topics. Very proud to have three speakers with us, Zuzu Jordan, Luke Ramsden, and via video, Emma Carolan. Hello, Romania. Yes, please put in the chat where you're from. Great to have you all with us. If I can start by introducing the wonderful Luke Ramsden. Luke is an award-winning head teacher. And
deputy teacher. Sorry, I don't overpromote myself.
Deputy head, we've just promoted you, Luke. An award-winning deputy head teacher and director safeguarding for the St. Benedict's family of schools. St. Benedict's is in London, a wonderful school, is a flagship for safeguarding and pastoral care, and is a member of the Safeguarding Advisory Board for the very prestigious Dino Award, and works extensively with the National Association of Pastoral Care in Education. Great work and very innovative work from Luke. Looking forward to hearing from you. We're also very proud, someone I'm very proud to have known now, gosh, for over 5 years and worked with on a range of topics, is the wonderful Zuzu Jordan, who has worked in primary education now for over 20 years and is a master in maths specialist. Always great to have maths teachers. Zuzu now works in international recruitment for schools and shares, I think, all of our passion for global education and for fostering inclusive learning experiences to ensure that young people and educators are learning from each other and having those important international experiences. We're also very proud to be working with Emma Carolan. Emma can't join us today, unfortunately, from her school in France, but as head of digital learning and online safety at the British School of Paris, she's very kindly contributed a video for us. So very welcome, Zuzu and Luke. And hello to all of our wonderful audience joining us from across the globe. We're very proud at the Global School Alliance to be working now with over 10,000 educators in more than 140 countries. You are the most important people in the world, and that community of global educators that support and celebrate and encourage global education is something we're extremely proud of. And our vision to further create that global network of supported and empowered centres of learning underpins all of our work. So you're all very welcome, and a huge thanks to all the schools represented with us this afternoon. Thanks, Hannah. We'd be delighted if you joined the Global School Alliance, free of charge to enter. Get involved with our platform, our social network, where there's lots of projects, groups, articles, online courses you can join to really develop and enhance your own commitment to global activity. So if you haven't already joined, please do so today. The link is on the slide there, and we'd be delighted to work with your school. Languages is a big part of what we're involved with, and great to be celebrating initiatives such as International Mother Language Day. And there is a competition online where you can tell us about your own mother language and the range of activities that you're already involved with. And hello, Mukhtar from Pakistan. Please do put in the chat who's joining us today. So do go online and tell us about the languages that connect your schools, your communities, and let's celebrate ever more so the key value of global communities. And we'd be delighted if you wanted to become a Global School Alliance ambassador. This is a really important way of joining a group of committed, globally minded educators and really get involved in some amazing projects. We're having a big global meeting of our ambassador network in June. So if you are interested in joining that particular network of ambassadors, please do so. Hello, Baku. Hello, Azerbaijan. Good to have you. Please do so. Again, the link for further information about our network is on the slide there around becoming a Global School Alliance ambassador. Thank you. And also, please get involved with our Global School Awards. We know there's lots and lots of schools out there who have already got our bronze and silver award. We'd be delighted to work with you to develop that gold level of whole school commitment to global activity. Again, it's a really important way of celebrating and giving a flexible framework around which to build all of your global work at the school. So if you'd like to book a call with me about getting involved with the Global School Awards, we'd be delighted to do that as well. So do get involved with our awards. Thanks, Hannah. So again, just to stress, the Global School Alliance, we're just over 5 years old now, and that is at the heart of all our work of establishing partnerships. Nothing beats face-to-face engagement, nothing beats those authentic opportunities to learn firsthand from each other. So we're very keen to work with all schools on having that international partner in embedding and developing an international approach to whole school global activity, and certainly would be delighted to work on travelling to visit your partner school. Again, some of the strongest feedback we get for our work are from parents, governors, local community groups, that this is truly life-changing, so important to have that first-hand immersion with authentic face-to-face opportunities for languages and global citizenship. So it's a whole school approach to working with your school on embedding best practice globally. And for those schools joining us today in the UK, just to highlight the UK government touring scheme programme, there is generous funding that you can apply for in order to access pretty healthy funding, up to £50,000 that you can have in order to visit your partner school. We have experts in-house that can help you with your application. So if you are based in the UK and you want particular support with accessing touring funding to visit your partner school, we'd be delighted to work with you on that. Thanks, Hannah. So just to stress, get involved with our very wide, diverse, supportive and wonderful community of global educators. Again, we always say you are the most important people in the world. Bringing the world into your classrooms, ensuring that all the young people in your schools are having access to amazing teaching and learning experiences. So do register for our events, get involved with the Global School Awards. And also a big part of our work increasingly is student voice. So we have student councils for both primary and secondary schools. So if you would like your students to become involved in our student councils, again, we'd be delighted to send you further information about those. The link is there. Thanks, Hannah. So if you want to put anything on the chat function and introduce yourself, delighted to hear from you. At the end, we'll be having some Q&A if you've got questions for our speakers. And do share your comments on social media at G School Alliance and hashtag GSA Conference, because we'd be delighted to hear from you. And it's always wonderful to have your voice, your comments, your insight writ large in this. Okay, so without further ado, we would like to get your views on, in advance of what we'll be hearing about today about online safety. Broadly, how confident are you in your own school having a sufficient range of policies to cover all aspects of online safety and safeguarding? So we're interested in just getting a broad idea. Are you very confident in your own school having that range of policies to cover aspects of online safety? Not really, you could be doing more. Or no, you're not familiar with any policies. So do feel free to vote now. So yes, very confidence coming through there. Not really, you could have more, or no, you're not very familiar. Okay, another few seconds. 50 of you have. Okay, you're very confident, you're not really confident, or you're not really familiar with any policies at the school. Okay, another few seconds. Okay, thanks for doing that. And what's coming through is actually great to hear at this
Mm.
early juncture, very confident, 53% of respondents that you have that sufficient range of policies, which is wonderful. 34%, not really. You feel you could have more policies, and we hope what you'll be hearing and learning about today can inform that development. And a slightly worrying 12% not having familiarity with any policies. But again, we'd be delighted to stay in touch with your school if you want to develop those particular policies. So thank you for that snapshot. That gives, I think, as our speakers as well, some further information how to take this forward. But it's good to know that over half of you are very confident. Thanks, Hannah. And just to broadly outline, certainly at the Global School Alliance, we adhere to all aspects of best practice with our online safety. We adhere closely to the 4 Cs of online safety, which we think are a really important way, a very shared way as well of taking this work forward. And content, obviously preventing illegal, harmful images and videos, being aware of contact, preventing online contact with predator strangers online, very important. With conduct, preventing inappropriate behavior and cyberbullying. And certainly with commerce, preventing online scams. So they're the 4 Cs that underpin all of our work at the Global School Alliance. And again, we're proud to work with thousands of schools in developing best practice. And we've highlighted some of those here. Thanks, Hannah. In having specific policies to keep children safe online to prevent cyberbullying, to support and include parents and carers by sharing helpful advice and resources, an incredibly important stakeholder support group for all of our work. Important to tell the difference between fact, opinion, belief, and fake news. I think all of us are increasingly confronted by those challenges. Again, to stress that not everything you read and see online is true, so the importance of checking sources. And of course, the key importance that underpins all of this work of keeping personal information private and using strong and unique passwords. So they're a broad range of certainly where we come from at the Global School Alliance. We adhere to best practice and always hearing from amazing educators about developing the key importance of this work. Okay, so thanks for listening to our introduction there. Without further ado, can I introduce the wonderful Luke Ramsden. As we said, Luke is based at St Benedict's School in London, and he'll be telling us about his own very innovative work in these areas. So over to you, Luke.
Hello, everybody, and wonderful to see so many people, everybody from especially from Coventry all the way through to Caribbean and Romania. So this is a fantastically broad group. And I think brilliant to be able to talk to you about something which is such a universal thing. You know, the entirety of the world is, whether you think sort of set up to an educational utopia of AI, and it's all very exciting, or we're talking about sort of a lot of things that we should be very worried about. And I think just to give it a bit of context, I'm somebody who very much, I find the advent of AI tremendously exciting. I think there's a huge amount that we can potentially do for our young people, not just, I think, in mainstream education, but I think in all sorts of other areas. I'm talking to Zuzi before this about, you know, home educated students, supporting students neurodiverse. There's a whole range of really exciting things that I think that will be able to revolutionize education. But I think as ever with a sort of a revolution like this and a real change, it's really, really important as well that school leaders, and seeing lots of your principals and leaders in your schools, that we understand the dangers and that we help our young people avoid those dangers, and actually not just our young people, but our teachers as well, and the people who work with us, because there are all sorts of potential pitfalls that I think AI can potentially give us. And oh, somebody's just put in there, if you've got any questions as you go through, feel free. I know there's a Q&A at the end, but also as we go through, because there might be something that I just could be useful to pick up on as I'm talking to you. Because what I'm really just going to do, I've got about 15 minutes, I think, is just to run through kind of, for me, the key things to watch out for. I mean, by all means, do have a pen and paper. But what I thought I'd also do, I might just send my list of things I'm talking to over to GSA, and then they could just post that up or send that out to you or whatever. And that just means that it's a little sort of checklist of things that I've been thinking about. Now, I do a lot of writing on AI at the moment for things like the Times Educational Supplement, things like that. So I've had a chance to have quite a good think about this. So I'll launch into it. So the first thing, and the first thing to think about with AI is actually not a new thing. And it's to remind everybody that AI is not just generative AI, not just creating words and pictures, but actually is underpinning everything that's online. And actually, one of the biggest things that AI can cause as a problem is the way in which it drives all the algorithms and social media. And it's really important that as school leaders, the first thing that we're thinking about with our young people is, well, how do we help them with all of the apps and phone use and online use and social searching, which is not new, it's been around for ages, but I think we're increasingly becoming aware of the really significant dangers that that presents for our young people. Because actually AI is not at all new. AI has been around for years and years, and it underpins everything we do online. The way in which, as a child, you can go on to YouTube or TikTok or any of those sorts of things, and it will, you say, oh, I like this, and it will push you to all those different things. Or indeed, underpinning that people might pay money to that company, to TikTok or whatever, and it will start to push those pictures. So you might not search for a particular bit of music or whatever, but it might come up on your screen. And so it's really important to educate children that AI is a much more kind of underpinning everything we do. And the first thing I think is really important we educate all our young people about is to look out for that, to think to ourselves, what's going on behind the surface of the online world? What is perhaps pushing videos towards me? And those sort of lessons that you'll probably see a lot of them online, lots of really good resources are out there, explain things like, well, how do algorithms work? Explain to young people how people sort of monetize their eyes and monetize what they're looking at in order to get them to see different things online. Because I think that's something that for young people, that's really powerful and important. Because I think a young person just looking online without that education just thinks, what I look at is what I look at. There's nothing driving it. There's nothing underpinning it. So I think the first thing, as ever for teachers, is to educate and educating young people in the way in which AI, without you even realizing you're using AI, is in there underpinning the kind of the infrastructure of everything you do online, whether it's from targeting with advertising, the way in which Amazon will suddenly sort of send you an email about something you were talking about near your mobile phone. You think, oh my goodness, how have I just been sent a message that's to do with something I was talking about 5 minutes ago? Oh, it's because my mobile phone was on. So that's AI as sort of broader sense. You're probably thinking, though, generative AI is what I've logged in to hear Luke talk about. And I think the first thing that you will probably, I think, be absolutely on your radar is the idea of, well, what is AI generating? And the biggest thing, the most obvious thing, is this idea of deep fakes. And this is something which I'm astonished we haven't seen more of in UK or indeed in lots of news I've been reading. So there was an example last year in Spain. This is one of the most famous ones, you might have heard about it, where a group of young boys took some pictures, very innocent pictures of young girls in their own small town in Spain, and they took them to a deep fake website and turned them into pornographic images. And really unpleasant stuff. These were circulating all around the town, and then the police got involved, lots of arrests. The thing that's terrifying for me is that this is incredibly easy to do. Not saying that I've done this particular thing, but you can take pictures and change them pretty much any way you want. And that I'm aware of from having done reading, there are all sorts of sites that are not as scrupulous as the ones that I would normally use. And so one thing that strikes me is at some point, all of us in education are going to come across a tidal wave of this. Because basically, and the British government has just published today some new guidelines about pictures you put up. But the kind of question that thinks is, well, what happens to that image that I put up on the website saying, well done to X or Y for winning a school prize? Do I not do that now because somebody can take that image and manipulate it? Do I just hope they don't? It opens up a really straightforward but difficult thing about what do we do? Because any image can now have pretty much anything done to it. Do I continue to have pictures of my teachers on the website? These are all things that school leaders need to at least have thought about, need to at least be thinking, what's my response when the pretty much inevitable point happens over the next few years when something is brought to your attention. This student has made this image. What are you doing about that as a school? So there's definitely not a solution I give you, I'm afraid to say, but I'm definitely telling you about the problem. And it's something that's worth having a think about before it happens in your school so that you at least have a, well, this is what we would do, this is the plan, this is how we're educating our children. So that idea of deep fakes and, as you were talking about earlier, misinformation of all sorts. Think about again, are you educating about it? Are you explaining about it? Are you, and this is the one thing I'd say is really important to help sort of combat this issue, are you explaining to your children about the legal implications of this? Because one thing I find time and again when there are issues online, I say to children, if you were not in school and I took this to the police, do you know what would happen? Well, nothing. And say, well, actually, you've just done this, and actually a person could press charges, and actually this is against the law. And this sort of 12, 13-year-old, what? And so something I think is really important for us to do is to educate children, what are the legal implications? What would happen if you were in the big wide world? And that's why we as a school are going to have give a sanction or do whatever on that. So I think that idea of education, again, we come back to it, and helping children understand that what for them, because it's online, is it they might see it as a game, they might see it as just a bit of silliness. This is different from real life. Always educating them what's online is basically the same as in real life. You've got to stop them thinking that there's no kind of consequence for what they're doing. So that's, if you like, I think that's one of the biggest worries and something that I think at some point will start hitting schools quite badly. Another point that a lot of you on a more educational side will probably, I think, already been thinking at is that idea of, well, cheating, basically. Somebody going along, they put their essay title in the top, generate me this essay. Done. Brilliant. Got my work done. And I think this is something where I think a lot of people go, oh my goodness, this is kind of invalidating everything we do. And I need to stop people using AI because they're just going to cheat. And here again, I'd come along to the idea of, well, education is important, is key. And also I'd strike it's not something, even though it's got a lot of worries, it's not something we just say, well, don't use it at all then. I think it's really important that schools work with AI and they tell students how to use it effectively. There is no way in the next 10 years that all these children leaving schools won't be using AI. Everybody within a few years will have a little AI sort of thing in the corner of their computer, and it will help you do everything from writing letters to booking holidays to doing your shopping. It's just going to be there. So you might as well get them used to it. But having said that, well, work out how to work with it. Make sure one of the things I do now is I might set them an essay and I say to my students, I'm a history teacher, why don't you do research with AI? Why don't you can even get it to write a perfect essay for you, look at what you'd look to do. And then next lesson, first 10 minutes, you're going to write your answer on a piece of paper. Really straightforward, means that they are using AI, they're using all its potential, but they also do have to sit down, do the work, and actually have thought it through themselves. And once schools, I think through that, then I think they can really work with it effectively. And so again, it's really important that you, your senior teams, and your digital leaders have a think about what you're doing proactively and positively with AI. I think it's really important schools don't just go, well, nobody's using it. Right. Everybody put your phones in the bin, turn the computers off. We're just going to use pen and paper. What are we going to do to work with it positively? How are we going to educate children to get good research? Right? One of the things I keep on saying to my students is really depressing is you used AI and you've still done a bad essay. I mean, that really is depressing. And so if you're going to get children using AI, do something good with it. Do make some amazing bit of research that you'd never be able to do without using AI. And at least you can think back, wow, that's brilliant. I mean, I couldn't have done it on my own, but I have done something great. So I think all of those things are really important, kind of taking on and using it proactively. Um, A second, my fourth point, very different one, but I think one that's really important because I think some people, I would say, are getting this wrong at the moment, is about how we use AI to talk to and interact with. And there have been a few cases of this in the British press recently of, well, do we want to replace kind of school counselors, school teachers with, well, why don't you go and talk to an AI chatbot? And I think this is really worrying and something I really, really think any educationist should steer a million miles away from, because it really worries me the idea to say, well, we've only got so much money, there's only so much support we can give for mental health. Why don't you, because you're profoundly depressed or anxious, talk to AI? That is a terrible, terrible idea. And I don't think, not in any way of AI showing any sense that it's going to end up being good at talking to children rather, or indeed grown-ups, as opposed to other real people. They are very good at simulating friendship. They're very good. You can have a kind of practice to see how it goes. You can practice being a friend. It can do all these things. But actually, almost that's the worst thing about it. It has no understanding of context. It can generate responses. Even ChatGPT, even these things with guardrails, they can be prompted to say some very harmful things about you should keep this a secret. No, don't tell your parents about this. I mean, even and sort of interesting, sort of trying to, within the bounds of what we should be doing, kind of testing it out myself. These sort of very kind of reputable AIs can say some pretty unpleasant, harmful things, which that's not what I want to hear a young person to. So I think it's really important to school leaders as well. And I have sadly seen some school leaders saying, "Oh, I think we should just do this to kind of, plug the gap of not having enough people." I think it's vitally important that educationists around the world don't fall into that. And it's people talk to people about people things, and we don't kind of have this kind of slightly dystopian scenario of computers talking to us about our mental health concerns, those kind of things. Because it can be misleading, it can be really inappropriate, it can be really harmful. So I think it's a very important point I'd like to raise. I think a fifth thing is also that increasingly, as we look at different kinds of AI coming onto the scene, I mean, I don't want to name the some of them particularly, the Elon Musk chatbot on X seems to be a particularly good case of this. Some AIs are actively harmful. They actually have been written in a way which is sort of going to say not the right thing. And we'll see more and more of this sort of kind of bad actors, it might be called. People who are not just AIs, that are not just accidentally saying the wrong thing, but that are deliberately saying the wrong thing. There are certain AIs which I've looked at, which again, not talking about personalities and things like that, but you go on and they've got very different views of history. So, for example, if you look at DeepSeek, a Chinese generated AI, that does have a very different view of certain elements of Chinese history than Western historians or other non-Chinese historians would have. So we're seeing a slight separation out of the AI world, different viewpoints, different sort of ideas, and so you could have AIs deliberately pushing kind of things. So the Elon Musk chatbot focuses on free speech. And so it's wanting children to say anything they want, and it will say anything back to them. It doesn't have any guardrails. So it's pretty worrying stuff. I'm just about to get to the end of my time, but just a couple of other thoughts. First of all, in terms of your teachers, when you focused on young people, to just get teachers to continue to remember that not only can AI, there's been lots of discussion about the way in which it can hallucinate. If it doesn't understand what a question is, or it doesn't have enough facts to fill in a blank, it will just do a kind of a logical guess and it will hallucinate an answer. But also, sometimes the advice can just not be that good. And in particular, thinking about safeguarding mental health, well-being. Again, I've heard some professionals saying, "Oh, I just went onto ChatGPT and printed off a couple of answers on this." Yeah, oh, really? Not sure if that's what you want to be going away for. So talking to teachers about that. And then the final point, which I think is a subtle one, is with all of this, we're talking about how we look out for each other or indeed look over each other's shoulders. And another thing which worries me, kind of over monitoring. Having said we should be looking out and educating and watching everything, one worry that strikes me is that everything's so monitored and carefully watched that, do we create a bit of a culture of distrust? Does it create a sense of everything's watched and carefully looked at? I'm not saying we should not do that, but I think it's worth talking to children about why we do it how we do it, whether we do it in the right way, so that we don't create a sort of them and us with young and old people. But really, that's just a really sort of random thoughts really that I'm having in the last couple of days ahead of this, but things that I thought really they're the key things that I would want to talk about to somebody in school leadership about how we're using AI. As I said, I'll send that into GSA so that you can sort of have that as a crib sheet. But these are the sort of things I think everybody should be looking at in education when we're thinking about AI and education at the moment.
Luke, that was fantastic. Thank you so much. Really important points there. And again, you highlighted extremely well the shared importance of best practice in online safety. And I agree with you 100% as well about the importance that we are in charge of the technology. And
Yes.
certainly to be able to talk to real people, no matter the challenges around that, rather than speaking to AI.
Yes.
It's so important
Careful about
to
that.
maintain that key difference, but be aware of the challenges and yet incredible opportunities
Mm.
represented by AI. If you have questions for Luke, do leave them in the chat. I will take one for now. Jamal is asking what
Yes.
measures can be taken to prevent the unethical use of AI. Any response to that, Luke?
Well, so for example, in our school, we have school laptops, and so we've got a system where we can monitor how they're using their computer. And so that means kind of if we see somebody typing in something that's unethical, we can see it and watch it. And so monitoring systems is good. But of course, they're not always in school. They might not always be using it in under your supervision. So again, it always comes back to the education, telling them the downsides of unethical use, going from the positives. So if you use it ethically, these are the positives you'll gain from it, all the way through to, well, if you break the law and you do this, you've got a big problem on your hand. But I think both sides are very important.
Brilliant. Thanks for that, Luke. Some really wonderful feedback. Thank you so much. We'll be doing Q&A at the end as well. So do keep putting your questions, insights, thoughts in the chat. But we're going across now from the wonderful Luke Ramsden to hear from our colleague Emma Carolan. Emma has sent a very useful video for us to highlight today. She's head of digital learning and online safety at the British School of Paris, and she's contributed a video about their own work in this important area. So thanks, Hannah. Hello, everyone. We're very proud at the Global School Alliance to introduce the amazing Emma Carolan. Emma is based in the British School in Paris, where she leads on digital learning and online safety, issues of shared concern to us all. So, Emma, we'd like to start by asking, can you tell us a little more about the British School in Paris, a number of students and location, etc.?
Yes, of course. So we're the British School of Paris, and we are just outside Paris in the western suburbs of Poissy-sur-Seine. We are two schools, a junior school, which is the primary school that goes from nursery to year 6. And then we have a senior school that goes from year 7 to year 13. And we're right next to each other, two campuses, but we're right next to each other. We have roughly in the whole school around between 500 to 600 children each year in the school. And we are 2 form or sometimes 3 form entry, depending on the year groups.
Fantastic. And what did you find particularly useful and interesting around issues of online safety and safeguarding? Was it your own particular interest in digital learning?
Well, because I'm the head of digital learning and of e-learning, we have iPads at our school. It's so important that we also have a very structured online safety curriculum, because we can't use all this technology without teaching the children the dangers of using it, and also without communicating with parents as well about the dangers of the internet and how to keep the whole school community safe. So when I started off a long time ago, when we distributed iPads throughout the school, I think it was in 2012. So it was a long time ago. We're very much into digital technology and being creative and using STEM and coding, making movies and posters. It was very much a creative curriculum. But quickly we realized how important online safety was for the whole school. And we've changed the way that we do things. We've gone kind of a little bit round in circles with the iPads because we've reduced the number of iPads that we have because we feel that some of the children do not necessarily need an iPad on demand, one-to-one iPad. We've also changed our curriculum as well because we know that a lot of children are playing games and watching videos at home on their devices. And at school, it's so important that we teach them the skills that they need to use them well, not just the critical thinking and the digital literacy, but also coding and programming and all the other skills. So we have quite a thorough digital learning curriculum. Balancing that, we have our online safety curriculum. And we recently, we've achieved 2 accreditations, one with Southwest Grid for Learning and the other with the National Online Safety. And to receive those accreditations, we had to do a very thorough audit. We had parents involved. The whole school was trained in online safety. All of the teachers, all of the admin staff, and the children took part in interviews as well. And the children were brilliant. And we were told we are a telling school. There was no fear of anything severe happening within the school, that it was just very much low level insecurity with regards to inappropriate content and screen time. And that's really what we try to communicate with the children and the parents, because a lot of the children are old enough now in year 5 and 6. They're old enough now and they do listen, and they want to please us, the teachers. So we talk about it, we do it in fun ways, and they understand the importance of having downtime, of switching off. They understand the importance of not doing things they're not quite ready for with regards to inappropriate content. And we have a lot of success with that, and it works really well.
Fantastic. And why do you think it's a whole school responsibility to online safety? Sometimes it is seen as this is very much about digital, whereas we're trying to stress this as obviously a whole school responsibility. Have you any hints or best practice to share about the importance of ensuring this has a whole school buy-in, as it were?
Yeah, I mean, it's everyone's responsibility, just like safeguarding is. And we in our school we have safeguarding training, and we have our policy that we have to adhere to, just like we have to do with online safety. And it's really important that the class teachers are teaching the online safety, that it's not just a specialist teacher, because one specialist teacher cannot cover the whole school. And you can't just have one specialist. Everyone needs to know what the curriculum is, what the dangers are, what are the risks, what we should be teaching. And that's why all of our school were trained in online safety, including the secretaries who spend time with the children as well, including the nurse, because it's so important to be able to identify those risks. And now class teachers teach regularly the online safety lessons, just as they teach PSHE and English. And we encourage the specialist teachers as well to teach some element of online safety. For instance, it might be about copyright in music when they're learning about a new song, or it might be about GPS trackers in a Fitbit in a PE lesson, or it could be about location and GPS on maps when we're doing geography. So we talk in lots and lots of different lessons about online safety, and it's just linked to everything. And in France, obviously, we have a French department at our school with 4 French teachers, and they are brilliant as well at promoting online safety. The French government are really, really good with harcèlement, which is bullying, and they do that really well. There is a lot of media about it. We have telephone numbers to call. The children can call numbers themselves if they feel they're being threatened at home or at school. And the harcèlement, the bullying as well, it's for physical bullying, but also online bullying. And there's a huge campaign in France on it. And there's a lot of resources and information. So the French teachers at our school are able to use those resources that the children are receiving in French schools as well.
Fantastic. And what do you feel the main differences are, Emma, between the French commitment to this work and in other countries you've experienced, maybe the UK and other countries?
I think the UK are very, very good at creating a curriculum and creating it creatively and ensuring that teachers have the resources. So the framework for a connected world is brilliant because it gives us the objectives. And I like to use Project Evolve for a lot of my lessons because it's so easy. It's easy for the teachers to use. The children love the interactive parts as well. And one of the successful parts of using that is regularly updated, where some other resources are not. And now we've got huge challenges with AI and deep fakes and things like this, and we have to be continuously kind of checking what we're teaching and making sure that we're keeping up with the trends. And when you use a program like that, they do update it and it is kept up with what's going on in society. Don't seem to have anything like that in France. There are lots of websites and there are some resources. There's Safer Internet Day. The European Union provide actually a lot of resources and a lot of training, and they're brilliant. And I think in France, it's very much kept to bullying and online bullying. There's not as much resources and curriculum for the other types of online safety, which might be about health and screen time, or might be about misconception, misinformation, and things like that.
Excellent. And you mentioned AI. Are there any particular challenges that schools globally are now facing around the growth of AI in every school?
Yeah, well, I think that the AI is just a new thing for the children, and it's an exciting thing, and they just can't wait to use it. And whether it's creating images or generating some kind of text, it's just so exciting for them. It's so exciting to use these new apps and websites. And I know my own daughter as well, who is 11, she's always talking about, oh, we could do that on ChatGPT. And it's just so exciting for them. And I think that's where you have to be careful, that you have to make sure that they have the skills to use it well. We need to ensure that they can fully comprehend everything they've read or everything they've seen, or if they're going to copy something, we need to make sure that they've got that critical understanding. And for our staff, it's so important that we have training. And this week, actually, we all participated in AI training. We had an inset day yesterday, the first day back after the holiday. And so everyone had some AI training, all of the staff. So we are more aware of some of the risks of using AI in our own teaching.
Gosh, yes, it is a challenge and yet an amazing opportunity, isn't it, for every school? And for our global audience of educators, Emma, are there any websites that you could recommend, or any spaces you could recommend for schools that are beginning to develop a safeguarding policy for their own schools?
Yeah, a safeguarding policy with an online safety policy. The Southwest Grid for Learning, they have examples on their website. I think you have to pay for them, but it's not too expensive, but you can get templates and examples from there. A lot of schools in the UK actually have their online safety and safeguarding policies on their websites, and you can see them. So if a teacher was about to write a policy, I would suggest that going on to some of the schools in the UK, because they have everything there visible for all of the parents to see and the governors of the schools. So just checking out schools' websites is just one way to find an example of the policy and to see what fits. Obviously on LinkedIn, there's always professional teachers that are sharing templates of policies.
Fantastic. And is there just one hint or tip that you'd tell our global audience about the importance of this work? Something that they could use to discuss with their own principal about how crucial this work is now for their own IT presence?
Yeah, I think as a teacher, our curriculum, it's so tightly packed into the day or the week that we teach. And it's very, very easy for us to not have the time to teach certain lessons. And some of the lessons that might drop off are things like PSHE, because it's that half an hour and we hadn't quite finished the maths or the English. And then it could be the online safety lesson. And I think it's really, really important that we make that time and we make sure that even if it's just once a month, that we have an opportunity to talk to the children about any online safety concerns that have risen during that week, or that we've seen in the media, or that a child has mentioned. And they love it. They love the online safety lessons because it gives them an opportunity to talk and share their ideas. And it's really important to do it in small groups as a class rather than as assembly, to give them an opportunity to talk. And again, if there are any then disclosures, it is in a smaller group, and then you can deal with that separately later. But they really enjoy this part of the school day, and I think it's just it's something that it's become one of the most important subjects now at school, because you just can't live without it.
It is amazing, isn't it, how it's growing, and what's fascinating as well, that we're all learning together. It's a wonderful opportunity.
Yeah.
So to actually be aware of the threats, the challenges, but also be aware of the amazing impact this work has is really inspirational. Well, thank you so much, Emma.
No, you're welcome.
We always say at the Global School Alliance, you are the most important people in the world. So our very best wishes. We will certainly stay in touch. Best wishes to you and to everyone at the wonderful British School in Paris. We will certainly stay in touch, and it's a big thank you from us all. And on behalf of our global community, best wishes to everyone.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Take care, Emma. Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
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 Yeah, so thank you, Emma. We hope you enjoyed that, ladies and gentlemen. And just as Luke said, he's going to send on his notes to everyone. We will certainly share Emma's video, as we will share the entire recording with everyone. Okay, so we go now across to the wonderful Zuzu Jordan, who's an educational consultant and will tell us about her own commitment to this important work. Over to you, Zuzu.
Thank you, John, and thank you everyone for joining the Global School Alliance webinar about internet safety. So when John kindly asked me to contribute to this webinar, it got me thinking about how it links to our global citizenship and how important it is to learn about the internet safety. So one thing that kept on popping into my head is how it empowers our students. And I think that has to be the heart of everything behind the internet safety, of actually what it's going to do to our world globally, how it's going to connect us, how it makes the world so much smaller with all this technology and this increasing digital globalization. So that was number one. And then I started thinking down the thought of rights and responsibilities, that all children have the right to be online, but they also have a responsibility to do it safely, as do we, for adults, have that responsibility for ensuring that they have the right culture of safeguarding embedded in the schools. And as educators, it's really, really important. So in the schools that I work with across the world, some of the best practices that I've seen is the fostering a culture of safeguarding. And they do this a number of ways, one of which is having safeguarding internet safety days, internet safety weeks, really integrating it. I know Emma and Luke very kindly has already touched upon this, but really integrating into the curriculum where it's not always just a standalone subject, that it is completely embedded right across all subjects and making it part of an everyday conversation, because it is part of our next generation's everyday life. So that was really important. So having structured learning modules, interactive activities, collaborating with special organisations. The NSPCC and UNICEF have lots of information online about internet safety and how you can incorporate activities within your schools that are going to ensure the safeguarding. Bringing in parents, I don't know about some of the people on this webinar, but for me, I feel a bit like a tech dinosaur when I compare myself and what my children do. They can do so much more than I can because they're born into that generation where technology is automatic. I still come from the generation of dial-up. So for me, educating parents is just as important as educating the pupils that you are working with. So running workshops, for example, with parents is really, really important. Having a code of conduct, so almost like and I don't like to use the word list of rules, but in a way it's kind of like a guidance for both parents, for teachers, for everybody within the community of what is considered as an appropriate way of using these online tools that are at the tip of our fingers. I then wanted to go into policies. As Emma mentioned, that there are plenty of policies on school websites, and that's fantastic, and definitely use those as great models and good practice. The importance about policies, that it's not just something that's written down, that it is actually actioned, and that we actually have somebody monitoring the implementation of the policies. So we need to make sure that also these policies are constantly reviewed. As Luke touched upon or gave us lots of information about AI. AI is constantly changing, technology is constantly changing. Therefore, our policies relating to internet safety must be constantly updated. Developing an e-safety robust policy is important, but it must be implemented and it must be monitored, that it is actually being carried out as it's written down and it's not just a blank piece of paper. I then also wanted to touch upon providing the education and training, making adults and the teachers and the educators aware of the cyberbullying. Now, when I was certainly a teacher, that was something that was coming up about 15 years ago. Children able to open accounts without parents' permission. We need to educate them, but also to develop a culture where everything is transparent, and that the one thing that children do fear the most is having their devices taken away. So to allow them that safe area of space, and Emma spoke about how it's incorporated in PSHE, and I really liked how she said about the small groups, to be able to for the children to feel comfortable to say if they've seen something inappropriate, but they're not going to be punished if they have seen something inappropriate. And I think that's really, really important to make that distinction, that children need to understand that if they report any suspicious behaviour. Periodic training sessions for teachers, as I mentioned before, because it's constantly evolving and it's constantly changing, once a year kind of training isn't necessarily going to cover the forever changing landscape of technology. And I think it's really, really important that it's almost kept as an agenda, because safeguarding is an agenda for every meeting, every governor's meeting, staff meetings. It's really, really important that that is almost hand in hand with all the safeguarding agenda points that you have in meetings. And then I just wanted to then go back to why are we doing this? Why are we having this webinar today? And I can't thank John enough for inviting me along to this, because it just warms my heart, the importance of how we can connect together all the schools around the world, but do it in a safe way. And for it to be successful, we all need to be singing from the same song sheet and make sure that we do prioritize internet safety. I think I've pretty much covered all my points very, very quickly. But if I'm happy to answer any questions about anything else, if you want to reply to me in an email at any point. Thank you, John.
Great. Thanks, Suzu. That was really informative. And I think it's so important because it very much is in line with what we want to do at the Global School Alliance: connect all schools, connect all educators. Everyone on this call, you are doing amazing work in your own schools, even in challenging circumstances. But that passion, that belief, that core commitment to communicating and collaborating together, I think is something that unites us all. And that was brilliant. Are there any questions? Would anybody like to put a question to Zuzu? Great feedback there, informative and attractive session. Wonderful. Again, an interesting remark from Jamal: when students are given some assignments in school, they use AI. This can reduce critical thinking ability. What is the way to overcome this? Any thoughts about that? About the impact of AI on critical thinking?
Well, I'm just going back to what I was saying earlier, and think if you use it going alongside what you're doing, I mean, just give them a session where they can use it, give them a session where it's laptops away or just on bits of paper. But I think, and you can compare the two, you can get them to think about, oh, I wonder how my critical thinking changed because of the AI. So, and yeah, I think it's making sure it's not everything. It's like with all these new technologies, don't just use that. It's got to be alongside all the other things they're doing. I think it's really critical.
Great, thanks, Luke. And an insight from Gita. Can you give us an example how it's been integrated in the curriculum?
I'm happy to answer that. So, to give an example, this morning, I give out a set of notes, which is about the origins of World War II. And I said, well, here's a soft copy on a computer screen. So I put that up and I said, so if I put that into ChatGPT, so I dropped it in, I said, so I could generate a test for myself, and I did that, and I generated a timeline, and I put it into different languages, and I said, so there's that same information, but you can do lots of interesting things with it, and you can manipulate it, and you can test yourself, or just learn things, or say to ChatGPT, can you tell me more about that little fact? And so what you're going to start seeing more and more, teachers are still vital, but more and more being able to self-learn, be self-tutored, go away and do your own research. I think that's where the excitement comes in. It's got to have a teacher sort of on the tiller, directing them in the right way. But the exciting thing is you can take what the teachers have given you and run with it and do really exciting things.
Could I add to that, John? Sorry, I did hear of an educator who set a challenge to their class, to his class, if they could write an article using AI, but to see if it could beat him in him not realizing it was written by AI. So it had to really get them thinking about what they were inputting into the tools, which I thought was quite a clever way of really getting them to think outside the box. But also just adding to what you were saying there, Luke, about having the teacher there still there, it brings us back to teachers being facilitators. We are guiding them, we're still facilitating their learning. It doesn't make any of us educators redundant in any way. I just think it makes our job even more important to guide us through this next stage of the technology world.
That's a great point, Suzu, and I agree 100% about educators are more important than ever now to facilitate that learning, because there is so much good stuff, bad stuff, challenging stuff out there. How you actually interpret it and make it useful in classrooms, in places of learning, is incredibly important. And Mukhtia, there's a hand up from Mukhtia Ali.
Yes, sir, Mukhtar Ali. So,
Would you like to ask your question, Mukhtia?
Yes, I have a question. What about the own mind learning? Because we were talking AI. AI is a machine. Okay. So what about what the teacher do in own mind? So what is the criteria of a curriculum where we set the AI subject over topic in our curriculum? This is my question.
Sure. That's the role of the educator, I think, in
Yeah.
this now, isn't it?
I think there's, in one sense, it's a very great opportunity because you literally know if you'd had this during lockdown, for example, looking back, the idea of just being able to, sit there and learn from an AI and I is a really fascinating one. And if I think about myself, like because I'm a teacher and I know how to learn and things like that, I could probably sit down and learn an entirely new topic using AI. But what children don't have is how to learn and how to keep yourself disciplined and how to sit still for half an hour and other pretty crucial skills. So, in a sense, it's really exciting, but I'm kind of your tech utopians, those sort of people who go, my God, who needs school anymore? I totally miss it. The really important human bit of, well, will you use it for that? Will your child left, it's a bit like working from home. Do all those people working from home then not go onto Amazon and surf for half an hour before they start work? No, grown-ups as bad as children. So I think that there's a big, big question mark next to it for me, which is potentially exciting, but will people actually use AI to actually learn stuff constantly and be super learners? Doubtful.
But Mukhtar, was it also you were talking about online learning, as in what you're providing for classes? I think one of the things it's important because that's increasingly happening is talking about what platforms to check that they're using the right platforms and covering the code of conduct there about sharing that personal information and ensuring that you are steering your pupils in the right direction in that sense.
Brilliant. Thanks for that, Muktir, and thanks for all your support with the Global School Alliance. Now, we have Monia Mahmoudi from Tunisia on the call. Monia, are you on the call? Because Monia is doing amazing work in Tunisia for us. So just to say, if you are on the call, Monia, a big thank you to everything you do. If you'd like to put your mic on and say a few words. Okay, we'll have you at the next call, Monia, but it was great to see your name come up there as well. Hello, Ericsson, sharing your experiences about integrating computational thinking in data science and Gestalt theory. Mukhtar, again, many countries are not using the internet and AI like me. Absolutely. This is all about sharing that best practice. But just to say, are there any final questions before we start to wrap up? Because it has been really wonderful to have the amazing contributions there. And just to say a big thank you. I think this is particularly one of those topics that we are all learning together every day. Not everyone has the answer, but we have some questions, solutions, ways of thinking together, which is really powerful. Okay. Now, because we talk often about perhaps the negative aspects of online education, we'd love a group shot of everyone just to say a big thank you to everyone on this call. So if you would like to turn your cameras on, we'd like to take a group picture just to say a big thank you to you all that we will be sharing on the Global School Alliance website. We know, hi, First Primary. It's great to have First Primary with us. Hello, Jamal. Hello, Mohammed. Hello, Sarah. Amazing people. Hello, Doris. Just to say a big thank you to you all. You are the most important people in the world. So my colleague Hannah is going to be taking a group shot. Tell us when you're ready, Hannah. I think everyone's camera's been turned on here. Limara, Laura, camera's on. Will, is that okay, Hannah? I think we're ready to take the group shot. Hello, Claire. Hello to Hannah. Hello, Alistair. Is that okay, Hannah? Yeah, this is wonderful, Lydia. Thank you. Okay, thanks for that. Okay, again, just to say we will be sharing this recording with everyone. on the Global School Alliance website. Do download your certificates of participation. Just to say a big thank you for joining us today. If you have any questions, please send them to us and we'll be getting in touch with everyone, Zuzu and Luke. We will certainly have you at future webinars because this is such a huge topic. I think it does warrant a further webinar to explore best practice. Our next webinar is on the 27th of March. So again, please join us for that. And everything we're talking about can be shared also in blogs. So if you want to share your own experiences that we'll be sharing on our GSA blog, that would be wonderful. But just to say a big thank you, Zuzu. Always great to work with you. A big thank you to Luke. We look forward to visiting St. Benedict's in the not too distant future. And a big thank you to Emma, who joined us via video from France. But I think the biggest thank you is to you, our global audience of educators. You are the most important people in the world. I think now more than ever, young people do need to be brought together to share experience in what is a globally complex environment. So the more skills, knowledge, experience, insight you're bringing them, it's really powerful work you're doing. So do give yourselves a round of applause. Our best wishes to you, your colleagues and all the schools joining us today. So without further ado, thank you to everyone. Thank you, Christopher. Good to see you, sir. Julmira, Tawana, Natasha, Jenny, Laura, Mukhtar, Erickson, Alistair, Doris. If I haven't called your name, apologies. I am looking at... Hello, Riverside Education. Hi, Natasha. We are very proud, very privileged to work with you all. Hello, Elvis. Hello, Shamrays. Do stay in touch. Do download your certificates and we will see you at the next one. So a big thank you from us all at the Global School Alliance. Take care and we will see you soon.